Hello and welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Bhargava Trophy Special. This is me, Mihir Vasavda, and with me, as always, is Vinayakk Mohanarangan to review the first day's play of the Boxing Day Test and what a day it was. To quickly recap, Australia won the toss, decided to bat, ended up with a massive total of 311 for the loss of 6 wickets, with the 19-year-old debutant Sam Konstas hogging all the limelight of the day, not just for his incredible batting, but Vinayakk, as we saw as the day progressed, for also a little run-in with a certain Virat Kohli.
Yeah, I couldn't have had a more eventful debut, I guess, even in his dreams. Yeah, 311 for Australia is a pretty good day for them. I think definitely advantage, but I'd rather say India might not be too displeased with how things are, especially after that first hour. So a little bit of a comeback with those wickets in the last session. But yeah, I think the day belonged to Sam Konstas for sure. 4 half centuries in the top 4 for Australia, but none more exciting than the 19-year-old who lit up the Boxing Day Test in front of 80,000 plus people at the MCG. What shots. There was a stat, I think our in-house statistician Lalit had mentioned about how Bumrah had not been hit for a 6 for, I think, close to 700 overs, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that 4,483 deliveries, to be very precise. And yeah, that streak ended today in the most extraordinary fashion as he reverse scooped Bumrah over the slips for a 6, right? Oh, to be so young.
Incredible, right? I mean, it made this whole effort of waking up at 4:30, see the toss, wait for another half hour for the first ball to be bowled. It made everything so worthwhile. I mean, unfortunately, the way things look right now, we are recording this after an hour of day's play. And all the talk that we are seeing right now is the whole Virat Kohli instance that Sam Konstas and Virat Kohli had. So I hope that that incident doesn't overshadow what was truly a magnificent knock. Just for the audacity of it, Vinay, because 60, I mean, when people just look at the scoreboard 5 years down the line, it might not look like an impressive score. But for an Australian top order that's averaged in like 18 or 19 or something like that, in the first 3 tests, for someone to just come and play, like you said, right? The fearlessness of youth. To play like that was incredibly refreshing to watch. The ramp shots that he attempted of Bumrah, despite, not connecting the first couple of times, still having the courage to reverse sweep him. I don't know when was the last time someone treated Bumrah so mercilessly in a test match.
Yeah, that is what threw everyone off. He spoke a good game before the test also. Whenever little media interactions that we had and his past videos surfacing, he did play these shots during the Prime Minister's 11 match in Canberra, the pink ball practice match that these guys had. He played a few stunning strokes there as well. And that's probably what got him into the squad in the first place. And the selectors wanted to throw something different at India, and boy, was that different. Just nothing like what we saw from McSweeney and Khwaja in the first 3 tests. It was mostly slow going, leaving a lot of balls, grinding it out. It was all pretty one-dimensional in that top order. And then comes this guy who just throws the rule book out of the window and rips it apart, right? Or rips it apart and then throws it out of the window. So incredible batting. And the Kohli incident,
In fact, just before we move to that, Vinayakk, you mentioned how he kind of, threw India a big surprise, the way he played. I'm just looking at the strike rates of the top order. So Usman Khwaja took 121 balls for his 57. Manas Labuschagne had 145 balls for his 72. Steve Smith is not out for 68, but 111 balls. Everyone's around 50, or Steve Smith is at 60, the strike rate. And then you look at Sam Konstas, he has his almost a run a ball, a strike rate of 92.3, 65 balls, 60, 6 fours, 2 sixes. And clearly India weren't prepared for an onslaught like that. So that's just one point that I wanted to mention. And yeah, you can continue with the Kohli spat now.
Yeah, the thing is, we've seen Siraj and Travis Head. We've spoken about that. We saw again Siraj and Konstas too today, sharing few words. That, what Venkat also said, I think, in one of the earlier podcasts, you need a little bit of that spice. It's such a big series, 5 matches. You need a little bit of the drama thrown into the mix, whether it's silly or advisable to exchange words with the batter who scored a century and all that was fine, but the drama was good. But what happened today, I think categorically we can say there's no part for that in cricket. There's absolutely no place for physical intimidation in cricket. And I'm sorry to say, I don't know if there are a few schools of thought there that both players changed direction a little bit, and they could have neither saw each other coming, equally at fault, both of them, and all that nonsense. But I'm sorry, that was Virat
That's
purely
rubbish.
trying to intimidate a young guy, right? I mean, there's no two ways about that. Kohli changes direction. He comes and he knows where Konstas is. I don't know if Konstas knows where Kohli is. He may not. I'm not, saying that he was completely blameless here.
Yeah. Even if Konstas knew where Kohli is, he is standing his ground. He's sticking to his lane. And you can clearly see Kohli, if we were to extrapolate and say that if Kohli is supposed to land on runway A, he just changes his direction and lands on another runway altogether and crashes into Konstas. And behind those sunglasses, I'm sure we can't see where his eyeballs are darting, but I'm sure if he wasn't wearing one, that would have been pretty obvious of what was on his mind. That was kind of distasteful.
Yeah, I simply refuse to believe that Virat didn't know where Konstas was. Pure, plain and simple. He was probably hoping. So we've seen this in the past also. Virat getting close to players, and I think last BGT was there. There was a moment where he nearly collided with Tim Payne and then pulls out at the last second. These things happen. I mean, Virat, does toe the line, and today I don't know why he didn't pull out in time. It's just, there's no place for that, and there's no defending Virat here. Completely unnecessary, and
Let's see what punishment is meted out. There'll be something for sure. We don't know right now. It could be anything from a fine to 1 match suspension. Depends on the level of offense that the match referee decides.
Just, what we are here, seeing at least from one senior reporter, Vijay Tagore, is that there's one demerit point and 20% fine of his match fees, which is, I would say Virat got off easy there.
So basically, Sarfaraz Khan will still have to wait for his turn to play a test match in Australia.
We still have one more inning, so let's see.
India could do with some Konstas like batsmen, and Sarfaraz is one of them who can, on his day, he can play innings like that, audacious. Where do we go from here? India struggled the first session. It wasn't a pleasant watch if you're an India supporter waking up very early in the morning after Christmas. And almost every Australian player who's been out of form through this series has been among the top 4, heavily contributing to Australia's total today. But very contrasting innings, as we said. Bumrah, again, Vinayakk. We've discussed this so many times. If he doesn't have a good day, the rest of the bowlers do look clueless as well.
Yeah, and thankfully he did turn it around in the last session for India. That was a really good spell in the end to get Travis Head out for a duck on a day when 4 other batters scored half century. Funnily enough, India's main pain in the backside actually ended up getting out for a 0. So that's something. Mitch Marsh again struggled with the bat. I'm not sure if he's doing enough to warrant his place in the side as a pure batter with not bowling as much as he does. That is a selection call that is facing Australia going into Sydney, I think. That's a very early call. But it's somewhat brought India back into the match, that Bumrah spell in the third session. Washington Sundar did get the wicket of Labuschagne, which was a little bit of a gift. Even Khwaja's wicket was a little bit of a gift. Bumrah's reaction was quite epic. He looked almost apologetic after getting that wicket. So a word for Akashdeep. Actually, again, at Gaba, he bowled really well without luck. Today too, he was, even in the first session when things were going quite chaotically, I think he was bowling stump-to-stump lines and getting the ball into good spaces, and I think he earned a deserved wicket at the end of the day in Carey. So, not all lost. It looked a very bad day in the making. I think we were joking in our group 550, 600 declared or something like that was going to be on the cards. It might still happen, you never know. Steve Smith is still there. He loves MCG, but India did decently to pull things back at the end.
What would you think India would be happy with? Another 50-60 runs Australia look like getting, but around 350, if they can manage to get the last Australian 4 wickets for another 40 or so, India would think it's a job well done. Just before we kind of start wrapping up, you mentioned Washington Sundar and the wicket he got. What do you make of the team selection? We had a few split opinions when we were in our office chat. What's your take on where India have gone with that?
Yeah, that is a bit of a strange one. We had that debate during our morning meeting on whether either selection call would have made a big difference in the end outcome. Well, that we'll see in the last 4 days. But to me, this was a defensive move to drop Gill and bring in Washington Sundar. It neither, you're dropping a specialist batter to bring in a guy who is decent bowler and a decent batter. Did they think that the pitch is going to take turn on day 4 and day 5 so much that they needed 2 spinners? I don't know. The experts, at least the people who are at the venue, don't seem to think it will take too much turn. So could they have played a specialist batter or a specialist bowler instead, strengthening at least one of those areas? Yeah, I think, I'm not a big fan of dropping Shubman Gill on a pitch like MCG where, his back foot game could come in handy. First of all, Shubman Gill is not even the most out of form batter in this side. We have two other big names who have struggled.
Name them.
Virat did score that century in Perth, but yeah, I mean, Rohit's form has been awful, to be very honest. I mean, if you're talking about dropping a player who's out of form, then I don't know how Rohit keeps his place and Shubman doesn't. Of course, we know why, but I'm just saying logically that doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, it's harsh on Shubman, and I hope Washington does well, but it's very, very harsh on Shubman.
Yeah, true. I mean, not like any of the replacements, either Rana or even Washington, they aren't like match-winning inclusions, at least on paper. So that school of thought holds. If you look at the way Australia have lined up, they've just one spinner in Nathan Lyon. Like you said, you wonder if, and the curator of the MCG, right, Matt Page, he said a couple of times already in the build-up to the test that this will be a pitch that will offer more to the pacers. So you wonder why then have they gone with two spinners and what's the thought process behind that. Perhaps, when Rohit Sharma speaks after the test match, we'll know better. If his selection is justified, then, well, we'll all eat a humble pie. It's the season of sweets anyway. Anything else on your agenda, Vinayakk?
Yeah, I mean, like you said briefly, I think India have to find a way to at least get one end out tomorrow as quickly as possible. The good thing is they have a fairly fresh new ball and hopefully fresh Bumrah and Akashdeep. And I hope they start with Akashdeep and not Siraj. Siraj hasn't looked in good rhythm this match. Akashdeep has been bowling really well. So that first 30 minutes probably is going to be very crucial if they can get Cummins out and then open up one end. India still just about in the game, but if they let the tail wag and, they end up conceding 400, 450, then yeah, going to be tough from here on. So big first 30 minutes, I think, tomorrow morning.
So ensure you wake up once again at 5 in the morning, have a nice cup of coffee or tea or whatever your choice of drink is, and hope that it isn't as bad from India's point of view as it was on Thursday. That's it from us from today's episode. Before you leave, we'll have Sriram Veera sharing his thoughts from the MCG. We will be back with a new episode of the BGT Trophy Special after the day's plays on Friday. So do watch out for us. Thanks for listening.
Hello, listeners. What a dramatic day of goosebumps, sighs, and relief right there and for Indians. Goosebumps because this teenager, Sam Konstas, playing a thriller ball, a wonderful, sensational test debut. I personally cannot think of a more exciting test debut in living memory. It was delicious, breathtaking, and people, you could see the joy in the crowd, and almost 90,000 people laughing and cheering. Even they were taken aback initially. Probably they even thought that this cannot last too long. He's backing away and slashing, doing lap scopes. And before they realized this kid is just going on and on with it. And, the cheers started building up every moment. It was quite wonderful. It's kind of a day that half an hour, 45 minutes, how long it was, that will stay in the mind for a long time. There was also an ugly incident which shouldn't have happened, a shoulder barge from Virat Kohli and Sam Konstas, which just, all of you would have seen the video. You would have made your own decisions, interpretations. It was just something that, just before that ball, Kohli had given him an exit stare as he walked, that Konstas hadn't looked, he was looking in the leg side. Then this happened. I think Kerry O'Keefe probably put it very well, former Australian spinner and player and the current commentator. Probably put it well that a very interesting choice of words he used. He said Kohli has built a career out of arrogance, and he perhaps spotted that in a young talent, and he resented it. It's a nice interpretation of the event. Of course, we do not know for sure what Kohli was thinking, what he was doing. He didn't really see him, what was happening. Let's see what the match referee says. As Andy Pycroft, who was the match referee, if you remember, when last year he had queried Jadeja over applying something on his finger, which came onto the ball when Jadeja said it was just a pain relief cream. So, and no charges were laid. Let's see what happens. But having said that, after all this hard work done by him and Usman Khawaja getting a 50, Labuschagne getting a 50, Steve Smith going on a 50, suddenly Australia just let things slip out of control. Old Australia, dominant Australia, wouldn't have this team from nowhere, like 240, when they were looking pretty for two, when suddenly Labuschagne perished. Then Bumrah did his thing, got two quick wickets with the two attacking middle order batsmen, Travis Wood shouldering arms. Mitch Marsh was a bit of having a horror run this series, top edging up. Suddenly it was 2-9 And suddenly, like, we thought more wickets going to fall, but luckily Alex Carey stitched the partnership and they reached 299 before Alex Carey's 2 fell. So it's sort of very interestingly poised. It could have been a completely, utterly dominant Australia, but they let slip right at the end. But it will be remembered. It will be remembered for the shoulder barge and a plucky teenagers, Greek origin Aussie, playing out of his skin, a kind of innings, a kind of debut which has rarely ever been seen in cricket history.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.